has just huge potential in terms of absorptive capacity for new products. And mobile phones have been very critical in that area in terms of improving efficiency of production and communication. And many people think, this was not long ago as a dream. When we talked about mobile phones, people thought we were just really completely off the mark. Kids dreamed about it. And many people think we call them mobile. Actually, we don't call them mobile. We now call them smartphones. But many people think we call them mobile phones because you carry these phones around. This is actually not the reason why they're called mobile phones. When Ericsson, the Swedish company, developed for the first time in 1956, a telephone you could actually communicate through which was not connected. They had forgotten to give it a name. And somebody said, what are we calling it? What will we call it now that it works? And somebody says, call it mobile telephone A. But it weighed 42 kilos. So there was just no way you could tweet using a telephone of this kind. In fact, it cost more than a car. So you bought a car so that you could insert the telephone into it. So a car was just a carrier for the telephone. You had this unit, you had a battery, and then you had an antenna, and these were all very huge pieces of the system. Then came car phones. I don't think anybody here is old enough to have owned one of these. But this was not an unusual scene in New York with the chief executives walking around with their mobile phones, working like that and communicating with their headquarters. But it took one guy, Marty Cooper at Motorola, who had observed this reduction in weight and also increases in efficacy, that you could actually get this telephone in the hands of every ordinary human being. And for 10 years, he worked on it. Nobody believed him. They gave him a little room in a corner at Motorola to work on this. They released, in 1983, this telephone, Dynatak, which cost $2,000 at the time. Sorry, $4,000 at the time, which is roughly works out about $9,000 today. But it weighed 2 kilos. So it's not very easy to carry around. That's why people calling it the brick. And at that time, you couldn't have imagined that this technology would become so miniaturized that it would have a transformational impact on African countries. I remember roughly a decade later having debates in Kenya, just mapping the trends and having a debate with my colleagues who said, you are completely crazy. This is a toy for the elites. You'll never be able to, people will never actually be able to afford it. Very quickly you started to see mobile phones getting into Africa, but when they got into Africa, they became a business as opposed to just for people's communication. These were businesses in Uganda, basically selling telephone services by using satellite communication. We had then the phones got smaller. When they got smaller, people started to find other businesses, create other businesses around it. This was in Ethiopia. This gentleman had found out that pastoralists like to stay connected, but they also wanted to keep their hands free so that they can look after their cattle. So he was selling rubber bands. That was the business. So people started to get very creative with this technology. So this is the first example I have found of a derivative of a mobile phone that was never invented by Africans, but they started to create new businesses around it. So I am persuaded that Africans are the ones who came up with Bluetooth. This is my view of the first Bluetooth. And then the revolution started really to occur where telephones became offices, with really people being able to communicate, not only just communicate, but use telephones to transmit basically money, the money transfer system, the so-called M-Pesa, which was developed in Kenya, in fact, with the help of Vodafone and the UK Department of International Development, where instead of just transmitting airtime, that code converted into cards. And so we start to see for the first time new applications of the mobile phone coming from Africa and then returning to Europe. But there's still a debate in Europe whether you can use money transfer. Not everybody uses it. 65% of African of Kenyan adults, in fact, use mobile phones to transmit money. It's become the new medium of banking. And I'm giving you this example because this is just one little example, a very simple technology that shows the potential that exists with this leapfrog technologies. If you start to put in, say, other examples, you start to see what the potential looks like in building new partnerships using existing technologies. And then you have young Kenyans now developing apps, applications. This is called iCow. This is where you have it's an app, and you have a cow, and every morning you log into, every cow has a number, and you log in the details, how much milk it has produced, when did it see, or when did the vet see it the last time, all this information. So you have very unusual kind of awkward situation where among African farmers, dairy farmers, there is more medical information on the cows than on the farmers themselves. Which is a very, very kind of very interesting. And so we see this widespread application of mobile phones in agriculture, in education, and in other sectors that could not have been anticipated by just looking at it as a tool for regular communication. And of course, you end up now with new companies that are moving to Africa. All the major telecom companies, Nokia, Samsung, Motorola, and Chinese companies, they are all establishing their headquarters in Africa to develop new hardware products in Africa. So the R&D facilities are moved to Africa because that's where some of the new applications are actually coming from. As we speak today, the Prime Minister of Kenya was meeting the Vice President of South Korea. Why is the Vice President of South Korea in Kenya? South Korea has identified Kenya as a gateway into the region, and South Korean companies are moving many of their R&D facilities. This is on the hardware side into Africa because of the view that they will have new applications coming out of Africa that are adapted to local markets and then can be exported back to South Korea because they'll be much cheaper, having been developed for low-income markets in Africa. This is the vision of many large corporations. Is to develop new products in low-income markets, which means you get cheaper products and then we export those products back in the industrial countries. I'm not going to this in terms of just the economic impact of mobile phones. We're seeing Africa shifting again into mobile from regular phones into broadband technology. This is a very transformative stage and development on the African continent. Just to give you an example, this is 2009. There's a very large part of Africa that didn't have fiber optic connectivity. And so if you are trying to talk to anybody from this region, you had to use a satellite. It was very expensive, very slow. People effectively use the internet. But because of that phenomenon of exponential growth in knowledge, we will see a significant drop in the cost of laying fiber optic cables. It costs 1/10 today what it costs to lay a fiber optic cable a decade ago. And literally in 4 years, this is what Africa looks like. All these cables have been laid in the last 3 years. And these are huge numbers. You have roughly a $5 billion investment in cables around Africa. Just on the eastern coast of Africa alone, you have another $7 billion of investment in terrestrial cables. This is why into the interior. So you get villages now that have access to broadband internet. And the question, where's the money coming from for all these investments? A large part of that money is being generated locally. That's what's so interesting. You take the example of this cable, Seacom cable, which connects South Africa with Europe, that was laid to basically in time for the World Cup in South Africa. It's a $650 million investment, of which 76% of the shareholders are Africans. So the idea that Africa doesn't have money is actually not true. If you get a promising product there, there's actually a lot of money that's being invested in many of these emerging technologies. I was at the launch of Seacom cable in Dar es Salaam with the President of Tanzania And he's lecturing me on the technology behind fiber optic communication. I was very impressed by how much he knew about fiber optic communication, and after he finished lecturing me, he insisted on lecturing me. His assistant pulled me aside and said, "God, the president worked so hard last night getting to understand." So you get African presidents reading up on technology, which is really, really interesting. So you can now have a conversation with African presidents on technology. I had a conversation yesterday with the Slovenian president on PoliMaT. So we're getting a very different kind of leadership that is informed about technological trends. Let me just quickly give a few other examples and then open it up for Q&A or give you time to go back and nominate. I'm not going to let you forget the reason why the ambassador and I are here. The ambassador and I are here to encourage you to nominate Slovenians. Agriculture, I think I'll skip this, but just to say, in terms of the fertilizer point that the ambassador was talking about, it's really very important for Africa, because one of the reasons why Africa can't feed itself today is because of the low use of fertilizer. Fertilizer is still very expensive, inaccessible in many cases because of transportation challenges. The use is roughly 9 kilograms per hectare in Africa, where the world average is about 100 kilograms per hectare. So very low level of use. And much of this, when it's used, again, it gets leached or eroded. That's where the work that's going on here at PoliMaT, particularly the microcaps, is really can be very transformational for changing the delivery of fertilizer to African agriculture. This is not to mention also that the same technology can be applied for water release as well, in terms of micro-irrigation. Only about 4% of African agriculture is irrigated compared to 40% in Asia and about 20% worldwide. Given the challenges with water resources, finding an easy way and an efficient way of irrigating could be very powerful in modernizing African agriculture. I'll skip through this because this is actually your material here. I give an example of health. We see the same phenomenon in the area of health, with the mobile health becoming a new development. A good example of this is ultrasound. Most of you are familiar with this device. This is about $120,000 equipment. In most African countries, this doesn't exist. And if it exists, it's only in the capital cities. So patients have been brought to the equipment. Not long ago, an Australian company developed a handheld ultrasound equipment, but they actually didn't do it for humans. They did it first for livestock, because as you can imagine, it's a little cumbersome to take a cow and put it on a bed and try to scan it. So they developed this technology for livestock. And somebody said, how about using the same technology for humans? So this unit has already been approved by FDA in the US for application. And then other companies have developed even smaller ultrasound units. This is the CEO of General Electric with this scan, which completely changes the business model, in that you can now take this to a village rather than get the village people to you. There's a team at the University of Washington in St. Louis working on a device that they hope will cost $100. This is our estimate, between $200,000.